So we're here with Toronto Mayor candidate Kevin Clark and we City Council candidate Troy J. Young in Ward 9 Davenport. Troy, summarize what you stand for in Davenport and what is your qualifications?
Well, the main issue in this election is affordable housing, and my community, which is a conglomerate of a public-private partnership, allows me to view how one of these would work once they're established. The rules that are currently being assigned to it are not adequate, so therefore we can strengthen on those by somebody who lives in one of those situations. But other than that, we also need more affordable housing in the city. We have to approach new developers and existing developments and ask them to put more affordable housing, or either by agreement or by force of legislation. I would prefer to go the first way, but we'll try that at first. And if the landlords don't want to come on board to be able to provide more affordable housing in their already developments or new developments, then what we can do is legislate it, and then it just instead of putting an arbitrary number like 100,000 or 40,000 on it, a percentage that's perpetual, and therefore housing is created automatically in any development.
All right, now on the issue of violence in your riding, how will you address that?
Well, we have to look at hiring more police. We have to also start looking at creating community councils, so communities have a better focus on their own communities, and therefore are able to create a better communication with the police within their own high-rise communities. We have almost 4,000 high-rise communities, and we need to have a police that's able to represent in there at least once a day. And I like Mr. Tory's proposal to and the police's proposal to spread police officers out in communities for 4-year periods. I like that idea because you get to know the tenants, you get to know the people of the community, and what you can do is you start building bridges of trust. And plus, with a police officer living in your community, they'll know the storylines of what's going on.
Right.
And that way you can deal with the gangs and the violence and the drugs as they're in your community. But this is a process. It will take a number of years for it to be actually felt within the community.
How do you feel Mr. Tory is failing when it comes to
transit? Pure and simple. He's failing on transit. He's bound us into a financial situation where our social programs are going to be cut time and time again in order to pay for the Scarborough Transit, which they have not released the numbers, even though every sitting member of council knows the numbers because the City of Toronto released its report in July.
So he's not basically just failing on transit. If it affects housing, is he not failing on affordable housing too?
On an issue-by-issue basis, yes, you could say that. But on the overall whole, he's put us in a position where we can't financially afford him anymore.
We can't financially afford him, Mr. Tory, anymore. Now, we have Anna Baloy, who is your opponent, and Cesar Palacio, Bauhaus, and they say that Anna Baloy is going to be a shoo-in because she has the money and she has the influence. What would you have to say to her voters and Cesar Palacio voters?
Well, I'm sorry to see Cesar Palacio leave the race. I wish him well, and I thank him for his 20 plus years of service in Davenport.
So you're a Cesar Palacio supporter?
Yes, I would. Having never voted in his riding, I would have voted for him if he had come south of DuPont.
Ah, there you go. God bless you.
Okay, but because Anna Baloy was who I had was what was representing us, she, as my representative in Davenport over the last 4 years, as the head of the Affordable Housing Committee.
Anna Baloy is?
Yes, she is.
And yet affordable housing is failing.
Yes.
So what you would be basically saying that if Cesar Palacio did run, you possibly would not run, but you are now the replacement because Cesar Palacio is not there.
You could view it that way. There's 60,000 votes that have been set adrift, that with nobody to support, because Cesar Palacio and Anna were the original 2 councillors that were going to go off face to face. I would have been in that mix also.
Indeed.
But now with Cesar dropping out, it's Anna Baloy, myself, and Mark Balak, and one other candidate, and the opportunity in Davenport is that we can actually bring fundamental change no matter who the winner is, as long as it's not Anna Baloy.
Oh, so it's anybody but Anna Baloy. I guess the incumbents are going down. That just now Mr. Ford is after them. But there was also another issue you spoke about, because you have a provincial tie, so you should be able to connect with Mr. Ford since you have provincial affiliation.
Yes.
You're the deputy leader of the People's Political Party of Ontario?
Yes, in that position I support Kevin Clark and the People's Political Party of Ontario in bringing about affordable housing to all people in Ontario. We believe that housing is a fundamental right, and that all housing should be affordable.
So affordable housing is the main issue that you're canvassing on. But there was one issue you would canvass on provincially. That was children's nutrition program. How would you implement that in the city of Toronto?
Well, I would fund all existing programs on an annual basis, do refunding for an increase. We know that $1 million at this current time can feed 15,000 children.
Wow.
John Tory tried to take that $1 million funding away in 2017 and send 15,000 of our children to school hungry. And I think that
the mayor didn't do that, did he?
Yes, he did. But fortunately,
God bless you all. Troy J. Young is running for city councillor in Davenport. And summarize and just wrap it up, Troy, and tell us why should people vote for you quick.
Davenport can lead the change in City Council by not electing Anna Balau and electing one of the 3 alternative candidates, preferably myself. We can bring the change to City Hall that is required. And if we could do this across all 25 ridings, we could have a brand new day for Toronto, and we could put up a speed bump to Doug Ford's running over this city.
This is Troy J.